I went home on Sunday. The sky was grey. The air felt heavy. I carried some fruit in my hands. My mother likes apples. She always says apples are good for health. When I opened the door, I smelled food: soy sauce, garlic, ginger. "Enya, you are back," my mother said from the kitchen. "I'm back," I said. My father sat on the sofa. He watched TV, but the sound was low. He looked at me and smiled. "You look thin," he said. "I am not thin," I said. I forced a small laugh. Dinner was ready soon. My mother put many dishes on the table: fish, chicken soup, my favorite tomatoes with eggs. "Eat more," she said. She put food in my bowl. I felt warm. I felt safe. This was home. We talked about small things first: my job, the weather, the price of vegetables. Then my father cleared his throat. "Do you remember Aunt Lee's daughter?" he asked. I nodded. "Yes." "She got married last week," he said. My mother sat down slowly. She looked at me. "She is younger than you," my mother said. I kept eating. I did not look up. "That's nice," I said. There was a short silence. My mother picked up her bowl. She did not eat. She just looked at me. "You are not young anymore," she said softly. My hand stopped in the air. I smiled. "I am still young." "You are 30, my father said. His voice was calm, not angry, just calm. I felt my face grow hot. "I am busy with work," I said. "Work is not everything," my mother said. "I know," I said. "Then what do you plan?" she asked. Her eyes were full of worry. I did not answer at once. I put down my chopsticks. I looked at the table. The food was still warm. The soup was still hot. But I felt cold. "I haven't met the right person," I said. "You can meet more people," my father said. "We can help." "I don't want you to help," I said too fast. The room became quiet. My mother looked hurt. "We just care about you," she said. "I know," I said. My voice was lower now. Outside, a car passed by. The light moved across the wall. Then it was dark again. "When we are old, who will take care of you?" my mother asked. I looked at her. Her hair had more white now. I did not notice before. "I can take care of myself," I said. "But life is long," she said. "You need someone." Her voice shook a little. My heart felt tight. I wanted to say, "I am not against love." I wanted to say, "I am just not ready." But the words stayed in my throat. "I am tired," I said instead. My father sighed. "Think about it," he said. Dinner ended early. My mother cleaned the table. I stood up to help, but she said, "It's okay." Her voice was polite, too polite. I went back to my old room. The bed was small. The desk was the same. My school photo was still on the wall. I lay down and looked at the ceiling. I heard my parents talking in the living room. Their voices were low. I could not hear the words, but I knew the topic: me. I turned to my side. My phone was next to me. There were work messages. I did not open them. Am I late? Am I wrong? Everyone around me moves forward. Marriage, babies, new houses. I move too, but in a different way. I close my eyes. I love my parents. I know they worry, but I also feel something small inside me. A quiet voice. It says, "Wait." I do not know what I am waiting for. Love, courage, or just time. In the dark, I put my hand on my chest. My heart was beating fast. I whispered to myself, "I am not ready." No one heard me, but I heard myself. And for now, that was all I had. 3 days later, my phone rang at work. I was looking at my computer. The screen was full of numbers. My eyes felt dry. I saw my mother's name. I knew the reason before I answered. "Hi, Mom," I said. "Are you busy?" she asked. "A little," I said, "but I can talk." I stood up and walked to the hallway. My office was noisy. People were talking. Someone was laughing. I pressed the phone closer to my ear. I met Aunt Zhang yesterday, my mother said. I closed my eyes. She knows a nice young man, my mother continued. He is stable. He has a good job. His family is kind. I leaned against the wall. Mom, I said softly, you can just meet him once, she said quickly. Just one meal. I don't want a blind date, I said. My voice was low but firm. There was silence on the other side. Why? She asked. I don't like this way, I said. It feels strange. What is strange? She said. Many people meet like this. I am not many people, I said. My words sounded sharper than I wanted. My mother sighed. We worry about you, she said. Her voice was not strong now. It was tired. I looked through the glass wall. My co-workers were typing. One girl was smiling at her phone. Maybe she was texting her boyfriend. I know you worry, I said. Then why don't you try? My mother asked. I did not answer at once. Because I was afraid. Not of the man. Not of the date. I was afraid of sitting in front of a stranger and talking about marriage like it was a task, like it was homework, like it had a deadline. I want it to happen naturally, I said. What is natural? My mother asked. Love also needs effort. Her words stayed in the air. I felt something heavy in my chest. I am not against love, I said. I just don't want to rush. You are already 30, she said again. Her voice trembled a little. Time goes fast. I looked down at my shoes. I know, I whispered. We are not forcing you, she said quickly. We just give you a chance. A chance? Why did that word feel like pressure? I will think about it, I said. It was not yes. It was not no. It was the safest answer. Okay, she said, but she did not sound happy. After we hung up, I stood in the hallway for a long time. My phone felt warm in my hand. Back at my desk, I tried to focus on work. I read the same sentence 3 times. I typed the wrong numbers. My mind was not here. At lunch, my colleague Amy sat next to me. You look tired, she said. My mum called, I said. She laughed softly. Blind date. I looked at her in surprise. Same story everywhere, she said. Do you go? I asked. Sometimes, she said. Sometimes I say no. Are you afraid? I asked. Yes, she said. But I am more afraid of living someone else's life. Her words hit me hard. Living someone else's life. That night I went home to my apartment. The room was quiet. No TV, no voices, no questions. I turned on the light. I put my bag down. I sat on the sofa. My mother sent me a message. I will send you his photo. I did not open it. I walked to the window. The city was bright. Cars moved like small lights. People walked fast on the street. Everyone looked busy. Everyone looked like they had a direction. I touched the cold glass. I am not running away from love. I just want to choose. Not because I am afraid of being alone. Not because time is pushing me, but because my heart is ready. I picked up my phone. I opened my mother's message. There was a photo. He looked normal, gentle, calm. I stared at his face for a long time. Then I locked the screen. I need more time, I said to the empty room. My voice was small, but it was honest. 1 month later, I went to my friend Lily's wedding. The hotel was big and bright. Flowers were everywhere. White roses, pink ribbons. Soft music filled the air. I stood at the entrance and took a deep breath. Lily and I met in college. We shared a small dorm room. We stayed up late and talked about our dreams. Back then, marriage felt very far away. Now she was the bride. She wore a white dress. Her hair was long and soft. Her face was glowing. When she saw me, she lifted her dress and ran to me. "You came," she said. "Of course," I said. She hugged me tight. "You look beautiful," I told her. She smiled. "You will be next." People around us laughed. I laughed too. But my smile felt heavy. I found my seat and sat down. The lights became softer. The music changed. The door opened slowly. Lily walked in with her father. Everyone stood up. Her husband waited at the front. He looked nervous, but his eyes were full of love. I watched them hold hands. I watched them say their vows. "I will love you," he said. "I will stay with you," she said. Their voices were simple, but strong. When they kissed, everyone clapped. I clapped too. My hands moved, but my mind was quiet. During dinner, old classmates came to talk to me. "So, when is your turn?" one girl asked. "Soon, right?" another one said. I smiled. "I don't know," I answered. They nodded, but their eyes were curious. One classmate showed me photos of her baby. "He is 1 year old," she said proudly. The baby in the photo had round cheeks. He was smiling. "He is so cute," I said. She looked at me and said, "You should have one soon. Your parents must be waiting." I took a sip of water. "Yes," I said. The word felt dry. Later, Lily came to my table again. She sat next to me. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. "Yes," I said. She looked at me for a long second. "I know that look," she said. "What look?" I asked. "The everyone is ahead of me look," she said. I laughed a little. "Is it that obvious?" I asked. She held my hand. "Listen," she said, "this is my path, not yours." I looked at her. "Do you feel ready?" she asked. I thought for a moment. "I don't know," I said honestly. She nodded. "Then wait," she said. "Doesn't it scare you?" I asked. "Marriage?" "Yes," she said, "but I am scared and happy at the same time." I stayed quiet. "Are you scared and happy?" she asked me. I looked down at my hands. "No," I said. I was scared, but not happy. The wedding ended late. I left the hotel alone. The night air was cool. The street was quiet. I walked to the subway station. My heels made soft sounds on the ground. In the subway, I found a seat near the window. The glass showed my reflection. I looked at my own face. No white dress, no flowers, no ring. Just me. Do I want this life? I asked myself the question slowly. Not because my parents asked, not because my friends married, but because I needed to know. The train moved fast in the dark tunnel. People around me looked at their phones. Some were tired, some were smiling. Life was moving in many directions. I closed my eyes. I imagined a wedding. I imagined standing next to someone. I tried to feel joy, but my heart stayed quiet. Then I imagined something else. I imagined traveling alone. I imagined learning new skills. I imagined building my own small world. This time my heart moved a little. The train stopped at my station. I opened my eyes. Maybe I am not slow. Maybe I am just on a different road. When I walked out of the station, the wind touched my face. For the first time in many days, I did not feel pressure. I felt a small question, and I was finally brave enough to face it. 1 week after the wedding, I went home again. This time I did not wait for Sunday dinner. I called my mother in the afternoon. "Are you home tonight?" I asked. "Yes," she said. "Why?" "I want to talk," I said. There was a short pause. "Okay," she answered. When I opened the door that evening, the house was quiet. The TV was off. The lights were warm. My father sat at the table. My mother brought me a cup of tea. No one talked about food. I sat down on the sofa. My hands were cold. "Can we talk?" I asked. My father nodded. My mother sat across from me. I looked at them. I suddenly saw how small they looked. When did they get older? I know you worry about me, I said. My voice shook a little. My mother did not speak. She just watched me. I know you want me to be safe, I continued. You want me to have someone. My father leaned back slowly. Yes, he said. We do. I took a deep breath. I want love too, I said. I am not against marriage. My mother's eyes became softer. But I don't want to hurry, I added. The room was very still. I don't want to sit in front of someone and talk about houses and babies in the first meeting, I said. It makes me nervous. My mother looked down at her hands. I am afraid, I said honestly. Afraid of what? My father asked. Afraid of choosing the wrong person, I said. Afraid of living a life that is not mine. My voice became clearer. I see many people marry because of age, I said. Because everyone says it is time. I looked at them directly. I don't want to marry because I am 30, I said. I want to marry because I love. My mother's eyes turned red. We never told you to marry anyone, she said softly. I know, I said quickly, but I feel the pressure. Every dinner, every call. The words finally came out. I start to doubt myself, I said. I start to think I am wrong. My father frowned slightly. You are not wrong, he said. My mother wiped her eyes. We are just scared, she said. We are getting old. We cannot stay with you forever. Her voice broke at the last word. My heart hurt. I moved closer to her. I don't want to lose time with you either, I said. Silence filled the room again. But this silence felt different. It was not sharp. It was heavy and warm. I promise I will not close my heart, I said. If I meet someone kind, I will try. My father nodded slowly. That is enough, he said. My mother looked at me. Are you happy now? She asked. I thought for a moment. I am trying, I said. She reached out and held my hand. When you were small, you learned to walk in your own time, she said. We waited. A tear rolled down her cheek. Maybe we should wait again. I felt my chest open. The air felt lighter. Trust me, I whispered. She nodded. After that, we did not talk about marriage. My mother went to the kitchen to cut fruit. My father turned on the TV again. Everything looked normal. But something had changed. I felt it inside me. I did not win. They did not win. We just understood each other a little more. That night, when I lay in my old bed, I did not stare at the ceiling. I did not ask if I was late. I did not ask if I was wrong. I knew one thing. I had spoken. And they had listened. For the first time, the word marriage did not feel like a clock. It felt like a door, and I was allowed to open it when I was ready. Life did not change in one day, but something inside me did. The next Sunday, I went home again. My mother cooked as usual. My father watched TV as usual, but no one mentioned marriage. My mother asked, "How is work?" "It is busy," I said. "Are you eating well?" she asked. "Yes." She nodded. She did not say anything else. The air felt lighter. A few days later, she sent me a message. "Did you sleep well?" "Not." "Did you talk to that man?" "Not." "When will you marry?" Just, "Did you sleep well?" I smiled at my phone. "Yes," I replied. "I slept well." I started to notice small changes. When relatives asked about my marriage during family dinners, my mother answered first. "She has her own plan," she said. Her voice was calm. I looked at her. She did not look at me. She just kept eating. But I felt protected. At work, I felt different too. I stopped comparing myself to others. Amy showed me photos of her new boyfriend. "He is kind," she said. I smiled. "I am happy for you." And I meant it. At night, I signed up for a photography class. I always liked taking pictures, but I never had time. Now I made time. The first class was on Wednesday evening. I walked into a small studio with white walls and bright lights. There were 10 students. Some were young. Some were older than me. The teacher said, "Photography is about seeing." I held the camera in my hands. It felt heavy and new. We went outside to practice. I took photos of the street, of a child running, of an old man feeding birds, of the sunset between tall buildings. When I looked through the lens, the world slowed down. I felt present. One night after class, I walked home alone. The city lights were soft. The air was cool. I thought about love again. This time my heart did not feel tight. I opened my phone. There was still that photo my mother sent me 1 month ago. I looked at it again. He still looked gentle. Maybe one day I will say yes to a date. Maybe I will meet someone in a class, or at work, or on a train. I do not know. But now the question does not scare me, because I am not running from marriage. And I am not running toward it. I am just living. One evening my mother called. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I just came back from my photography class," I said. "Oh," she said, "that sounds nice." "It is," I said. "I feel happy when I take photos." She was quiet for a second. "Good," she said softly. "Be happy." Her voice was warm. I looked out the window. "I will," I said. After we hung up, I stood there for a long time. The room was quiet, but it did not feel lonely. I thought about the little girl I used to be. She liked to draw. She liked to read. She liked to dream. She did not think about marriage. She just wanted to grow. Maybe growing up does not mean following a schedule. Maybe it means listening to your own heart. I touched the camera on my desk. I am 30. I am single. I am still learning. And that is okay. Love will come when it comes. Until then, I will wake up every day. I will work. I will learn. I will laugh with my parents. I will walk my own road. Not fast, not slow, just in my own time.